Superweapons in ancient Greece and the Battle of Salamis, the Persians versus the Greek Athenians. We have three floods according to ancient Greek history. That of Noah, the Greeks call it Deucalion, the man of good omen, and also of Dardanus and of Ogyges. And for more information, we can see the Sacred Illusions by Anthony Stamos. The floods mentioned in ancient Greek mythology, which after the discoveries of Troy and Mycenae must be considered history, have been proven both historically and with geological sections, and we know that after each flood there was total destruction. Huge areas were flooded and civilization was completely destroyed and had to start from zero again. Now, the remaining people, having the knowledge of that civilization, search for and find valuable objects that have been preserved, such as books, machines, or weapon systems that are useful to them for their survival. The masses of the population, cut off from the source of knowledge, within a few decades fall into barbarism, gradually consider the existence of the previous civilization as a myth, and imagination of the elders, so the knowledge and handling of these machines necessarily passes to closed groups of cliques of initiates. Over the course of millennia, these groups, in order to protect their secrets and to prevent these machines and technology from falling into the wrong hands, necessarily choose to be protected behind religious priesthoods. And these descriptions of how civilizations evolve from Plato's own references, but are confirmed by the existence of elite initiatory groups in ancient Greece, the Caveria, the Eleusinian, the Delphi, the Dodona mysteries, and in addition there are corresponding ones in India, China, Japan, Central America. And for more information, one can read the book The Chronicle of Akakor, where it is described how initiates protect ancient antediluvian weapon systems in Latin America. That's pre-flood weapon systems. It's also confirmed by the study of the history of the Priory of Sion. For over 4 centuries now, these elite orders of Europe have left the control of the Europeans and have come under the control of others. Agents continue to plunder underground caves even today, as it was recently revealed that soldiers from European countries explored underground caves in Bolivia for months, pretending to be speleologists until they were expelled by the country's government. There are hundreds of reports of the disappearance of such archaeological finds. So these finds were placed inside the temples in some inaccessible place, and no one could see or touch them except the initiates who learned how to handle them, which is why we see that the heads of the initiates had hereditary rights. And they used them in the case of need, such as in case where the nation was in danger. We have relevant information from Plutarch, Pausanias, Herodotus, Thucydides, and it is not possible that all of them had agreed to lie, as they are 230 and 300 years apart in time. So let's mention some cases that you can find. For example, in the naval battle of Salamis, which is an island just off the port of Piraeus, the port of Athens, the naval battle of Salamis, the priests of Eleusis insisted that the naval battle take place at the point and set Mnesiphilus as an envoy to have the naval battle take place opposite the Thriastian plain. There's a description in Plutarch in the parallel lives in Themistocles. He was the admiral of the First Navy of Greece, and where it stated that when the naval battle began, a flash appeared from Eleusis, a great light, when a great sound which was heard all the way to the sea. A cloud appeared which gradually rose from the earth and fell on the triremes. Flash, sound, smoke, something falls on the triremes. If it were a rocket, how would the technologically primitive Athenians describe it? Flash, great sound, and smoke filled the ships. We have all seen military rockets that gradually rise from the ground. It's certain that this is a machine that is reminiscent of today's missile systems. Do not expect confirmation and findings. The Smithsonian Institute has been repeatedly accused by former employees of disappearing finds, and entire ships have sunk in the Atlantic with such findings. Herodotus, in the 8th chapter of his history, describes that an Athenian exile, Diceus, together with the Spartan exile, Demaratus, were on the Thracian plain at the time, and when Demaratus, seeing the cloud, asked what it is, Diceus, who was an initiate, told him that if it went to the ships, it would destroy them. Demaratus told him to be silent because if the leader of the Persian Xerxes found out, he would kill them. Herodotus' History, Urania 65. The Athenian Diceus of Theocydides, a fugitive and respected by the Medes, the Persians that is, at the time when the deserted Attica, that's the area of Athens, was being destroyed by the infantry of the Persians Xerxes, happened to be with the Lacedaemonian Demaratus, Lacedaemon that is from Sparta, on the Thracian plain, and saw a cloud rising from Eleusis as if at least 30,000 people were walking, while he and Demaratus were not surprised. Demarit, who could be raising this dust? Suddenly he said, "We heard a voice, and I recognized that this voice was the mysterious Ikos, a hymn sung to the god Bacchus." Demarit, ignorant of the Eleusinian mysteries, wanted to know what they were saying, and I replied, "Demarit, is it impossible that some great harm will not happen to the king's army? For there is no doubt that since Attica is deserted, what we hear is something divine and comes from Eleusis to help the Athenians and the allies. If this scoundrel goes to the Peloponnese, the danger will be heavy on his king in the land army. If he goes to the fleet of Salamis, the king will risk losing his navy. The Athenians hold a festival every year in honor of the mother and daughter Demeter and Persephone, and there anyone who wishes is initiated from them and from the other Greeks. The voice you hear is called Ikos, Ichos meaning echo. After this, Demaratus repeated, "Be silent and do not tell anyone else, because if this reaches the ears of the king, that is Xerxes of the Persians, you will lose your head. Neither I nor anyone else will be able to save you. Sit down wisely then, and as for the army, let the gods take care of it." Zeus launches a thunderbolt. Pausanias in Attica reports that at the same time, a flying machine appeared which sank the ships. When the Athenians were engaged in a naval battle with the Persians, the Medes, a dragon was said to appear in the sky. A dragon is what they called a missile, with its flaming tail, obviously. When the people of the time saw something like this in the sky, they called it a dragon, according to their own knowledge. When they later asked the oracle what they had seen, they received the answer that it was Cycrus, the first king of Salamis. We have similar descriptions of the Battle of Marathon. Someone in a strange costume appeared holding a plow handle, a Chetlis, and killing Persians. He was a giant, a white giant with what was described basically as a laser beam of a sword, killing 50 Persians every time he swung his laser beam. So anyway, this has also happened in the Battle of Marathon, about a decade before the naval battle of Salamis. So after the battle, he disappeared, and when the inhabitants asked the oracle of Delphi about him, they received the answer that they should honor Echetlaus as a hero. When the Persians marched against the oracle of Delphi, the priest reassured the residents that the god could protect his own things. According to Herodotus' description, sacred weapons, quote unquote, were set up in front of the temple that came out of the temple and that no human could see, which automatically appeared outside the temple and threw lightning bolts at the barbarians. At the same time, thunder could be heard. Herodotus called them Terias Majores, that is, in a free translation, supernatural, terrible, large monsters. Many years later, in 279 BC, the Gauls, from France of course, led by Brennus, marched against the oracle of Delphi. The priests at the time reassured the residents again that the god would guard himself, that's god Apollo, and that is, he would protect his temple. Before the Gauls even attacked, lightning struck and killed them, at night a gas made the Gauls unable to understand who their neighbors were or their language, and they killed each other. Then Brennus also committed suicide. Pausanias in Boeotia, that's the area of where the Oracle of Delphi is, Pausanias in Boeotia reports that after the Battle of Hieronia, unruly Greeks from Philip's army went to plunder the sanctuary of Delphi, and they were destroyed in the same way, with thunder and lightning that came from the sky. So let us recall the reports about Talus, the robot that was, of course, the humanoid robot that guarded the whole island of Crete. Let us recall the reports about Talus. He supposedly had a liquid, something liquid inside him that made him, gave him power to function, and it could have been red mercury. So let us recall the report about Talus, the strange humanoid robot that guarded the island of Crete and constantly circled it every day. And when was he neutralized? When Jason managed to hit him in a crucial point and lose what we would call his lubricants today. The ancients referred to these liquids as ihor. This robot distinguished the invader from the resident. That is, the robot was able to tell who were the residents of Crete and who were the invaders. That is, we're talking about robots with artificial intelligence and equipped with the appropriate weapon systems to repel the invaders. And what can one say about the ships of the Phoenicians in Homer's writings? Ships that took you to your destination as long as you told them the continent, the country, and the city in that order. In other words, they were self-piloted. They moved in a cloud without a crew and rudder. Why does Homer emphasize these? Homer's Odyssey, Rhapsody, Theta, verse 555, and even more, reveal your country, people, and cities so that the ships may travel there with their own thoughts. For we Phoenicians have more than enough captains. We do not even need rudders, as is the case with the ships of others. Our ships alone know what people who travel are thinking, and they know cities and fertile fields, and so they quickly cross the wild wave of the sea of the fog, covered with clouds, and they never risk suffering any damage or sinking, because of course they're flying. Does anyone doubt that the Initiates possess the pre-flood technology? In India, does anyone doubt that the Initiates possess pre-flood technology? The only realistic question is, who are those in the 21st century now who possess this technology and keep the vast majority of humanity in ignorance? Is it a conspiracy? Is it sacrilegious or an exaggeration to assume that they hold this knowledge to dominate others who don't have it? Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.